Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Welcome again to another episode of Ask the Cheeseman. We'll just wait for a few more people to turn up, and then we'll get the show started. I'm very excited about the show. I've got some lovely stuff to share. Okay, it says the stream is good. Can I have an audio check? Everybody, can you hear me? Hopefully you can. So we've got, oh, good. Good, oh, everything's good. Good, good. Very excited. Right, we've got a few people online. Let's have a look who we got. We got the very first person to join this morning at 7:20 was Joy. Joy's very eager. Joy from Wisconsin. G'day, Joy. We've got Kep. We've also got the Rabbit Slayer from, where's he from? St. Charles, Missouri. And we've also got Kitty Cats from Perth in Western Australia. We've got the lovely Kim, of course, moderating today. Hopefully she won't ban people who are not supposed to be banned. But, yeah, that'll be good. We've also got, let's see who we got here. Scott, we've got John, we've got MJ UK, good to see you again. JE123. We got Bernadette. Did I say Cap? I think I did. Brass Butterfly, Benny. We've got Danny, North Screen Productions, from Norway. Fabulous. So, yeah, we've got lots of people on the line, so let's start the show, shall we? Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. G'day, Curd Nerds. Well, 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 welcome to Ask the Cheeseman, where I answer all of your cheese-making questions. Just a few announcements today. It's been some amazing activity over the course of the week since we last talked. And just got some notes. So welcome all the new subscribers. I've had an increase of about 8,000 subscribers in the last week, mainly due to the Parmesan video. Which is getting good reviews, and I think it's up to about 86,000 views in 1 week. So very happy with that, getting the cheesy word out there. So that's pretty cool. I'd also like to thank new patrons this week, Jeff and John. Appreciate your patronage over at Patreon, and Kim will put the link up to that near the end of the show. Couple of cheeses I'm working on. You would have already seen the Port Salut update video, which I released over the weekend. That's going very well. We're going to actually crack that open this weekend, which leads me to my next event, which is our pizza video, which I'll be putting cheeses that I've got on the in the fridge that I've got vac packed on top of pizzas and cook them in our clay pizza oven, which is a very obscure video that I've got still listed on the channel. Very popular, though. Also, I've got a treat for you in about a second, so I'll just hold off with the questions for a minute. I've got some raw footage, never seen before. This is a cheese that I'm making now. So I've got, as you can see there, I've got some cheese on the side, and who's going to be the first to guess what it is? There's no words, of course. There's no music. Oh, it stopped. That's not good. Oh, there we go. Got a bit carried away with itself. Yes, Cap, you got it first. It's Brie. So I've got 3 Bries there. I tested my own recipe. I found in all the cheese-making books that the process was so convoluted that I decided to kind of make my own recipe and method. But I did lean heavily on, there's a really good recipe. Ooh, That's all right. That's cool. There's a really good recipe on cheesemaking.com. Just go to their recipe sections for Brie. It's well worded, easy to follow, but that's the one I actually use as the basis. I didn't use the recipe. I used the basis of the process, and it's all about the process. So anyway, so I've got a big Brie there. So that's a half-size Brie right at the back. You can see in that video. That is it's about 20 centimetres across. I'm not sure what that is in inches. Then I've got a small one, which is 10 centimetres across. And then this intermediate one that I got using a mould I made from an old drain pipe, which is working well. So we got, what do we got? We've got Papa Brie, Mama Brie, and Baby Brie. So that's interesting. I'm going to be interested on see how they mature. So that footage was from last night, and that was just me turning them. They've been salted already. They're just drying a little bit. Still keep them in the mould to keep the form correct so they don't start flattening out. So that should be pretty good. Anyway, I'll just go back to me. There I am. Oh, hello. So yeah, so that's some raw uncut footage. You get to see it first because you joined the live chat. It's all exciting. Okay, don't forget that during the show, if the live chat goes crazy, or if you just simply want to donate to the channel, that don't forget there's a little $ button on the chat bar. It's called a super chat, and you can donate as little as $1, and that all goes to us and keeps the show running every morning. Kim and I, her being the moderator, obviously. Okay, enough of that. Let's get on with some questions, shall we? So I don't know. Let's have a look. There's a first one up here. There's a few people I didn't say good day to. We got Brenda from Ghana. Kamar Jamal from Washington. We've got Amia. We've got Nita Nitro. We've got Kelly. We've got John. Good to see you, John. Bofg. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I hope that was all right. Anyway, so we got some questions here, I think, somewhere. Yeah, the Brie, I don't think it's going to break. Now, the reason I don't think it's going to break, Richard, is that I added some cream to it. So it's it's not moist. There's a lot more fat content, obviously, because I've added cream to it. And it seems to be holding a lot easier. Thank you, Cap, very much for that. Seems to be holding together a lot easier. It did tear a little bit when the very first time I turned it over, but it's since recovered from them, so it's okay. Now, what have we got? Nita Nitro. I can't have B due to being pregnant. Any alternatives? I'm the poorest. I'm using your video as a replacement for cravings. Yeah, look, you got to stay away. Well, from what I've been told, I haven't been pregnant before, even though some people would say I probably look like I'm pregnant. But stay away from the mold ripened cheeses. So hard cheeses like Parmesan Romano, any of your Alpine cheeses, I don't think you'll have an issue with. It's just the mold ripened cheeses you got to stay away from, and any raw milk cheeses. So any cheese that have been made with pasteurized milk, you should be fine. Anyway, what have we got there? JF Maniac, have you ever made Danish blue? Isn't that called Dan blue? Is that kind of right? Oops, I'm a bit fuzzy. Come on, focus, fix itself. That's my hand. That's not my hand. Oh, there we go. That's better. No, I haven't. It's on my list of cheeses to do, and there's so many cheeses. So who we got there? Kitty Cats. Just thinking about that. Does that make you Goldilocks? I don't get the joke. Anyway. Oh, the Three Bears. Yes, that's very good. Yes, so I'm Goldilocks, but I haven't tasted it. When I taste them, it'll be very interesting. But I'm real excited. The mold should start growing. They're starting to dry out now. I'm going to air dry them today, and go from there. Yes, it could almost be Kasu Marzu if the that's why I keep the mats over the top in between turnings. It's a really long process, so you'll see the video is going to be over 30 minutes for that Brie. So, yeah, cheesy locks, nice one, John. Is it harder to make? Is it hard to make, or is it a breeze? um, it is difficult to make. I'll tell you now, it's not a simple cheese. I would say between intermediate, and advanced. But I'm making it because it's been my nemesis. I'll spit it out. It's been my nemesis for a while. I tried to make it before, and it just it split in half, and some bad things happened. Anyway, I'm way behind here. Hang on. I've got Israel. Hello, a Brazilian in Idaho. Nice to hear from you. And we've got Christy, brandy mozzarella. That's interesting. I'll skip too far ahead now. What's the quickest and easiest cheese to make? I live on a dairy farm. I would like to make cheese instead of buying it. Try Caerphilly. And if Kim's got the link to Caerphilly there somewhere, only takes 3 weeks to mature. It's a semi-hard cheese. Very nice. I fell in love with it the first time I made it, and I made it many times since. If I could only eat 3 cheeses for the rest of the life, what would they be? Well, Parmesan will be one of them, of course. I would say Camembert or Brie. We'll see what this Brie tastes like. And I am very partial now to a washed rind cheese. So the Tilsit was amazing, and I'm hoping that the Port Salut is going to be equally amazing. Okay, so Amir's got a question. Is rennet and citric acid enough to make tasty mozzarella? It will be for my pizzeria since cheese is so pricey here. It would be pretty plain, but the salt actually adds an amazing dimension to it. You've obviously got to add the salt to it. But give it a go, Amir, before you obviously start whacking it on all your pizzas for customers. The more salt, you got to experiment with the salt level. Since you won't have real mozzarella, and it looks like you're going, because you're using citric acid, you're going for the what's it called? The quick mozzarella. Then it does have a tendency to be a little bit bland, a lot blander than the other one. Okay, so yeah, this is quick, good. We've got Marina watching from Qatar. Lovely to see you there. Would you call it a double or triple cream Brie? Brass Butterfly, it was a double. Triple, I probably would have had to add about 500 milliliters of cream, which is just under a pint. I used 200 milliliters of cream, so it seemed to be fine. Set a curd fantastically. Everything is going swimmingly at the moment. Okay, where are we? Asa, which cheese is the stretchier apart from mozzarella? Look, any of the pasta filata cheeses, so Scamorza, Provolone, Asadero. There's quite a few stretchy cheeses out there of the pasta filata family. So yeah, just look up those. I think I've got pasta filata as one of my playlists in the channel. Nita Nitro, your video is the next best thing. I really want Stilton as well. Yeah, unfortunately you won't be able to eat that if you're pregnant because of the Penicillium Roqueforti. But yeah, as soon as the baby's born, go for it. Eat as much as you like. Okay, where we go? Have I got any plans to do any? Who's this from? Blake. G'day, Blake. Have you got any plans to do any cheeses with goats or sheep's milk? Thanks for reading, big fan. Yes, well, I've done 2 goat, two, maybe 3, three goats cheeses. So there should be some links somewhere. Kim might be able to dig them up in time. There's a sherbet, a very basic sherbet, but it was absolutely delicious, made with goat's milk. I made a goat's milk feta, which turned out absolutely fantastic. And I also made a bloomy goat blue, which was a An ash-coated fresh cheese, about 10 days old. And it had a white bloom rind, and the paste in the middle was absolutely beautiful. So there are 3 goat cheeses on the channel, but and I hope to make some more, but we'll see how that goes. Dan Blue, yes. Okay, string cheese is quite stretchy. Yes, the string cheese is actually, and you can see Holly, where is she? She's in the background there on the cheesy chair of wisdom, if nobody's noticed. Anyway, string cheese is actually mozzarella, and it's coloured with annatto. That's stretchy. Have I or would I ever try Casu Marzu? No. Christy in the Carolinas, I've been a sub since you were at 300 subscribers. So happy your channel's taken off. Thank you very much, Christy. That was back in the day, wasn't it? John, have you tried dipping a cheddar in hot water prior to bandaging? And does it really create a skin to help retain moisture? This seems to be done by the better cheddars in the UK. No, I haven't, John, but thank you very much for the tip. I think that's a lot of the reason why when they wax cheeses, the wax has to be fairly hot, at least 75 Celsius. And what that does, it scalds the surface of the cheese as well, creates a, kind of like an artificial rind, and then it seals in the moisture. Danny says, I'm new to cheese making. What is the best way to store cheese for aging, such as containers? Look, there's a couple of ways. If you're going to make semi-hard and harder cheeses, or even the bloomy rind cheeses, you're going to have to fork out for a somewhere to mature them. Now, if you've got a basement that's about 13 degrees Celsius, then you're set. All you need is some plastic containers with racks in the bottom, or at a pinch, you can use bamboo sushi mats, as long as the cheese isn't sitting in any of the way that that is expelled from the cheese as it's maturing. So that's one way to do it. The other way, get a cheese fridge. So I've just got a bar fridge with an external thermostat. There's a video for that somewhere in the playlist. Just search for cheese fridge and you'll find it. So that'll help as well. Okay, Kim's been very active with the links. Thank you very much, darling. Okay, skipped a few here. Probably asked this, but how did you get into cheese making? If you buy my book, the Keep Calm and Make Cheese, the Beginner's Guide to Cheese Making at Home, you can read all about why I got into cheese making. Too long a story to tell here. Israel, my package arrived today from Amazon. I'll start my cheese making journey. Thank you, Gavin, for inspiring me. No problems at all. Karma Jamal says, seriously, what cheese can I eat without having digestive issues? Should I mainly eat cheese made from goat or sheep's milk? Love cheese, can't stop eating it. I think you'll find that the cheeses with the less lactose, so fresh cheeses are probably out. I would recommend harder cheeses. So Alpine cheeses have a lot less lactose. So do hard Italian cheeses as well. You shouldn't have too many problems with that. In fact, many lactose intolerant people can digest Parmesan, Romano, Gruyere, Emmental, those sorts of harder cheeses. A lot less lactose have been converted to lactic acid. And some well-aged cheddars, so cheddars around the 1 year mark would be suitable. You wouldn't have too many problems with those. Fresh cheeses, unfortunately, full of lactose, haven't been converted. That's where you'll have some issues. Ninch says, any spice cheese experience to share and suggest? Yes, I made a queso fresco, really simple cheese, ready to eat in 6 hours. And I added some chili flakes to it and the water from rehydrating the chili flakes. And that was amazing. Really nice, simple, very spicy and bitey cheese. Obviously, pepper jack is one that gets around. It's just Monterey Jack with pepper, chili peppers added to it. So that's pretty cool as well. Way behind, yes, funny. Thanks, Asman. How was your pizza night? Hasn't happened yet, Richard. It happens this Friday. We have a public holiday here on Friday. So we're getting the kids around, my adult kids, and we are going to have a pizza night then. Mars says, can you make Colby Jack? Funny you should say that. Kim said to me the other day, why don't you make some funky cheeses with marbling, different colours, that sort of stuff. So Colby Jack it's quite a unique cheese. It's just Monterey Jack, which is nearly pure white, and Colby, which is yellow. It's coloured by annatto, and you mill the two together at milling time, just before pressing, and it gives a marbled effect, yellow and white. It looks pretty funky, and has a nice taste too. So I'll be thinking about making that soon. So what characterises a tome in terms of taste and stuff? Tome is a fairly generic term for semi-hard pressed cheese. I've been looking at recipes for tome, and they all seem to differ. And depending on which cheese-making book you look at or online resource. So it's very hard to characterise a tome. We did taste some, Kim and I did, at the Mould Cheese Festival, and fairly, I won't say bland, but not a distinct flavour. We had I think it was a sheep's milk tome, goat's milk tome, cow's milk, raw cow's milk tome. And besides the raw cow's milk one, which actually did have a lot of flavour, the other two really didn't float my boat. So I'm not too fast. Look, edible, ate them, enjoyed them, but wouldn't rush out to the store to buy some more. North Screen Productions, Gavin, I have a question about the ripening process of cheeses. I'm planning to use a wine fridge, or whatever it's called in English. No, that sounds good. To store and temperature control the ripening process. Can cheese be contaminated? Not necessarily in a bad way, by other cheeses, mold growth, when stored together. Yes, they can be. Best way to do it is to use ripening boxes. I find that limits cross-contamination, so you won't have too many issues at all. So it's just the plastic container with a raised bed. Oh, hello, Holly. Did we wake you up, did we? Yes, there you are. Okay. Skipped ahead a bit. Richard, are you looking forward to Amazon coming to Australia? So much cheese making options. No, we're actually not looking forward to Amazon coming to Australia, because we run our own cheese making shop as far as we ship out the goods and stuff like that. It's for online retailers in Australia, we've had it fairly good lately, because we haven't had massive competition like Amazon. But we've had to adopt free shipping here in our own store, littlegreenworkshops.com.au, as an incentive, I suppose, or a unique selling proposition for our products. Okay. Sam in the US, I'm originally from Syria. Do you know a cheese called Cashcaval? Do you think you'll be able to take a crack at making it? Cashcaval is very similar to caciocavalli, which is it's a pasta filata cheese, very similar in that region, and it's basically a pasta filata cheese. It's hung by two bulbous looking things, are hung by a string over a pole, and they're called cheese on horseback. I think that's the translation. Very similar to the mozzarella that I made. If you go and have a look at my real mozzarella video, just a lot bigger, and they're aged a little bit differently. Michael says, hey Gavin, you should try to make some of your own version of mini Baby Bell. Just want to know if that's possible. Well, it actually is, but it's very hard to get hold of the molds. Baby Bell is actually real cheese. It's a real cheddar cheese, or whatever variety they say is on the packet. They're not processed cheeses, so yeah, it's possible, but it's very hard to get the very tiny molds. And really, for the trouble that you go to, I'd rather make a big wheel, thanks. Could I make a chili cheese? I have. There are a couple of chili cheeses on the channel, so go and check those out. Brass Butterfly, I have some camembert ripening and it's going awesomely. Got a great white bloom before wrapping, and now just waiting for the paste to form. Brass butterfly, hopefully you've, and I learnt this the hard way, once it's wrapped, have you put it in the kitchen fridge, because that slows it down and helps the paste develop slowly, and you won't get a really runny explosion when you cut it open. Okay, what do we got here? Rabbit Slayer, something in France. Not sure. Where are we? Cameron says, Gavin, I recently tried making some mozzarella with goat's milk. It looked great until I drained the whey off. The curds started to break and won't stretch. Any ideas on what I did wrong? A couple of things. Goat's milk has a higher pH. Higher pH? Yeah, so it's more acidic normally anyway. You may have to ease back on the calcium. So don't add any calcium chloride because with goat's milk it doesn't need it. And that probably will inhibit the stretching. Also, this acid level. You may need to check with pH paper or pH meter. Make sure that when you start heating it up, that the acidity level is between 5.3 and 5.0 pH, and that's when you'll be able to stretch it. So just check. You may need to check your acid levels. Anyway, Richard says, you mustn't have a good tome cheese. They were absolutely delicious. My favourite cheese. Yeah. Well, these were from artisan cheesemakers here in Australia, so I don't know how much of a reference they had to official ones from Europe. Okay, Eduardo says, hi, Gavin. It's difficult to find thermophilic culture here. I use all your tips on making cheese, but without culture. Hopefully I can find it. I'm just starting cheese making. Thank you very much. And Eduardo is from Brazil. Lovely to have you on board, Eduardo. If you can get your hands on some kefir grains, which are it's a milk byproduct. It's a kefir grains. Look it up. They actually have a thermophilic culture in them, and they will culture your milk. And if you get the book called, hang on, I'll just find it. There we go. If you get the book called The Art of Natural Cheese Making by David Asher, that has all of the information you need if you want to use your own starter cultures or do it naturally using raw milk. And it even tells you how to make your own bloomy white cheeses and blue cheeses by cultivating your own bacteria. So that's pretty cool as well. So hopefully that helps. Graham says, hi, Gavin. Which pressed cheeses do you think could be made in the square feta molds besides feta? Any ones with 2 kilo plastic container weight or second mold as a follower? I have seen halloumi made using those molds, Graham. So it's a good way to make the squares in a halloumi. You could try that. And yeah, you just stack them on top of each other, keep stacking them up, and then put a weight on top, and that all seems to work. I do prefer just using 2 chopping boards and use that as a rudimentary press. That seems to work as well. But I have seen those feta baskets used for that sort of thing. You can also use them to make brick cheese. It's a specialty. What is it? It's a washed rind cheese. So you can use those square molds for that as well. And very small talagios, I suppose, you could use for that as well. Okay, Brass Battle, I prefer to buy my supplies from you guys because you're a small Australian business and I see you using the cultures and such that you sell. Much more trust in you guys than Amazon. Thanks, Brass Butterfly. Appreciate it. It sounds like you've bought from us before. I just don't know your name. Sorry about that. Asman, have you tried Yarg? Cornish Yarg is it's a raw milk cheese. I have seen it, but I've never tasted it. So, and I could not, somebody asked for it the other day and I could not find a recipe for it. I searched high and low on the interwebs, just couldn't find it, unfortunately. Okay. Dustin, honestly, I like your guys' shop selection and prices. Just can't afford the shipping. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I know international shipping is a bit of a bummer. Um, However, I have been told by some of our Canadian customers, and we do have quite a few, that our shipping actually gets there quicker than some of the cheese making specialty shops in the US and Canada. So go figure. Well, we just use standard international post, which seems to get there under 10 days, and we ship pretty quick. We have this well, we call it our shipping guarantee, that we ship within 2 business days of receiving the order, if not quicker. Okay. Dello says, I've made one of your cheeses and it was awesome. Thanks for the amazing videos. Thanks, Dello. Appreciate it. Brass Belover, yes, it's in the kitchen fridge. It may take a while to soften as they are quite thick. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to have to do with the Brie as well. Once they've got their bloom all over them, I know Bries are a bit thicker as well, so they take between 4 to 6 weeks to mature. So we'll see how we go. Nita Nitro, any chance of giveaway? No, don't think so. Because we're actually a business, Kim and I have our business, littlegreenworkshops.com.au. We actually have to get a license if we're going to do a giveaway. It's the Australian law, unfortunately. So if you're going to have any sort of giveaway or raffle or something like that, you got to get a bloody certificate license thing. Anyway, might be able to do it on the sly. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But just on that, there are different tiers within Patreon. So there are different support levels where if you support at a certain level, we send you a cheese kit that's specified in that level anywhere in the world. So that's pretty cool. And you get a one-on-one consultation with me for 30 minutes to figure out any cheesy issues you've got. Okay, Pedro, thank you so much for all you do, man. Do you have a list of cheeses from easy to difficult on your website, maybe? Books sort of do that, but it would be nice to have a list. Yeah, Pedro, if Kim can put up the link to the beginner's cheeses without a cheese fridge, I kind of go from easy to difficult up to a point. Okay. Have I ever thought of making Limburger? No. I'm telling you now that the Port Salut is very stinky as well. So I don't think Limburger's actually, it does have a bad rap. Apparently it tastes nice. But any cheese ripened by Brevibacterium linens is just, stinky as hell. Like very stinky cheeses, but very, very tasty. Okay. I'm all over the place here. Sorry about this. Thank you for doing. Hope says thanks for doing a Brie. I've been looking everywhere for a video, can't find one. Yes, I know. I had to pull my finger out. I just had to pluck up the courage and give it a go. Okay, John says, thanks for all I do. Just wanted to know, how do you store your leftover whey and how long do you store it for? Basically in the milk bottle. So I just give that a rinse with water, put any whey that I want to store back into the milk carton, and keep it in the fridge no longer than 3 days. You've got to use it within 3 days. Great in smoothies, which is pretty good. The chooks like it as well. The dogs don't. It gives them the runs, so don't give it to your dogs. Pigs like it apparently too. So hence the name Parma ham from Parma pigs in the Parmigiano Reggiano region. They use all the whey and they feed the pigs and fatten them up. Brandy says, I was looking into Little Green Cheese and some of the things I wanted weren't in stock. When do you get your products back in stock? I think they're all back in stock now, Brandy. I don't think there's anything out of stock at the moment. But yeah, just hit me up with an email on the contact page of either Little Green Cheese or Little Green Workshops, and we'll be able to let you know a bit more information. Okay, Kim's already answered that question. Okay, sorry about that. Gavin, have you ever smoked a cheese? No, I haven't. I have a barbecue with a hood, And I've been looking for there's a little small metallic smoker I've had my eye on in our local hardware store. So I'm just waiting for the double Gloucester to mature, which will be matured at Christmas time for us, so around end of December. And I'm going to cut a wedge out of that, so a quarter of that, and I'm going to try and smoke it and see what happens. So look for that in December. But that's the cheese. That's the cheese that I've got ripening that would be suitable for smoking. Scarlet Prairie, Gavin, I asked on the Port Salut video comments, but haven't got a reply. Why do you wash off the red bacteria growth? Because it gets sticky as anything. It is terribly sticky. So you wash it off. You're actually trying to get that bacteria colour. It produces the colour orange or red, and it goes into the rind itself. You don't normally have layers of the red mold on. It's not like Camembert or Brie. So yeah, that's why it's called a washed rind cheese. You have to wash it. Son Sony says, yeehaw, cheese rock on. I like cheese, too crazy stuff with cheese. I'm hard and raw, no regards for the law. Okay then, that's interesting. Brendan, hello, how are you? Thanks for the tip of spraying vinegar on the cheesecloth. Covered pressed cheeses to stop sticking when you peel it. I've done it a few times and it works brilliantly. Yep, certainly did. And I had to do that with the Parmesan as well, because the hotter the curds, the more likely they are to stick to the cheesecloth, even when the cheesecloth is moist. That little spritz of vinegar works like a treat. Belgian Swede, hello from Arizona. I love your channel and your videos. Currently maturing a Tilsit and a Gruyere. However, the Gruyere has a red mold infection. Will it be okay? Yeah, mine got a red mold infection as well. And it turned out okay. I just had to make sure it dried off. It was too humid in the ripening box. So what I probably would do now, if I made Gruyere again, don't know if that's likely or not. It was great cheese. But I would vac pack it after about a month. And as long as it's got its natural rind, that's grown already, and it's got a little bit of colour, like it's gone a little bit grey, browny colours, which those Alpine cheeses tend to do, then, yeah, you should be okay by vac packing it. So anyway, cheese making on an extremely limited budget tips. Yep, use as much equipment as you have around your home. Also, make your own press. That makes it a bit cheaper. You can also use plastic tubs, cut out the bottoms or drill holes in them. Make sure that they're sanded back so there's no sharp burrs or anything like that. There's some tips. And get your equipment from op shops or charity shops. Heaps of second-hand spoons and whisks and all that sort of stuff out there. Once they're sanitized, doesn't really matter. There you go. There's some suggestions for you, Scott. Okay. Earl Grey Corn, I'll say Brie and Darby would Sage. It's a pity we're so far. Okay. Hope. Hi from VA. What's VA? Is that Virginia? We don't learn the state codes here in Australia. Which cheese besides ricotta would be another cheese for a beginner? Try paneer. Very nice. It's Indian cottage cheese, very similar to ricotta. And then I would probably try the halloumi, which is easy to make, and queso fresco is a very nice one as well. Abbas says, hi, Kevin. No, I'm Gavin. It's okay if I see some trap whey inside the bag after air drying vacuum packing cheese. Yeah, it's okay. I've got an example where I've got a bag that's full of whey. I've got to drain it off. But yeah, you do have to drain them occasionally if that does happen. Captain Jack, are you planning on doing cheese cold smoking? Yes, I've already talked about that. In December, Captain Jack. To the double Gloucester. Brenda, new to cheese making here. Can you age cheese with cheese wax? Can the same purpose be achieved with the vacuum sealer? Or is cheese wax used after the aging process? You can use either. Doesn't matter. So cheese wax, fine. I do tend to find that if you're aging cheese for a long time in wax, that does have a tendency to get mold growth underneath if you've got a fracture in the wax. Vacuum packing works equally fine, unless you have cheeses that are mold ripened, so like blue cheeses, because you need the oxygen to make the mold grow. So you can't vacuum pack those, obviously. You can wrap them in foil, and that seems to slow down the blue cheese growth. Where are we? I'm lost again. Pokemon Go, original name. I know everyone's personal taste preference are different, but could you make a video on your top 10 cheeses? I would watch that. Thanks for the videos. Good idea. I think that is a good idea. Thank you very much, Pokemon Go. Would you put dry fruits and nuts into something like Havarti? Only problem, silly walnut, is that though dry fruits, okay, not too bad, but they do have sulfur around them, so they do inhibit the bacteria growth. You find that those sorts of things tend to be added to softer cheeses, so cream cheeses, that sort of stuff, so fresh cheeses. You don't tend to find those in aged cheeses because they do stunt the growth of the cheese. Geo Lynn, hi and many thanks. When you say full cream milk, do you mean whipping UHT or something different? Mesophilic or thermophilic, there are many on the market and differ. Which one shall I choose? Well, UHT milk, no, I don't refer to that. When I say full cream milk, it basically, in North America, it's the same as whole milk. As long as the fat level is between 3.25 and 4%, you should be fine. It cannot be ultra pasteurized or ultra heat treated. It will not form a curd set. So if you can get raw milk, fantastic, fresh out of the cow, goat or sheep, then your street's ahead of everybody else. But I tend to buy pasteurized and unhomogenized milk, which I can get here in the supermarket, and it does set a fantastic curd. So homogenization kind of trashes the milk, the proteins in the milk, and you won't get a very good curd set. Mesophilic or thermophilic, yes, there are many on the market. You're going to have to read the manufacturer specifications if you want to get a little bit more specific. But I did do a starter cultures video, and I don't know if Kim's put that up already, but yeah, you could check that out. Where are we up to? Say hello to Brazil. Hello, Brazil. Really looking forward to the double Gloucester. Turns out for some reason it's my favourite video to watch. It was a very good video. How's your double cream brie going? Brendan, you missed it. I did a little clip here. Hang on, here, just for Brendan. See if this works. There we go. Sneak peek. It's going very well. Hasn't snapped in half, and it looks amazing. Brandy says, it was last week when I was looking, and I don't remember, but I decided to wait until you had it in stock because I ordered because I wanted your equipment and various cheese making supplies. I think, yeah, anyway, have a chat on the contact page of littlegreenworkshops.com.au, and I'm sure we can sort that out. Okay. Fenelor, I think that's how you pronounce it. Me and a friend got 14 litres of raw milk, but our supplier was a bit slow to ship the culture. How long does raw pasteurised milk stay good in the fridge? No more than 3 days, unfortunately. If it was very recently, then pasteurise it using the long hold, low temperature method. And that'll keep most of the good bacteria, and you'll be able to use it when your cultures turn up. Obviously, don't keep it in the fridge more than 14 days. It just won't work anyway. But 3 days for raw milk, because it starts to curdle itself. And all the bacteria that are in the milk, in the raw milk, naturally, will start to act on the proteins in the milk, and you'll get a thing known as clabber, which is basically soured milk, which tastes okay. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not what you're going to make cheese. Okay. John said, after watching your vids on Pelagio and Tilsit, I gave them a try and now I'm hooked. Because of the cost of bee linens, it's very high. Can bee linens be propagated and frozen into cubes for use later? Not sure. I've never tried it, John, unfortunately, and I know it does. It is expensive culture, but you use so little of it. I think I use 1/32 of a teaspoon, so very, very small amount. So I've got the same packet I've been using for about 2 years. So yeah, I wouldn't be concerned about that. Belgian sweet, thanks, Gavin. Also maturing camembert bear from your little bear recipe. After 14 days, do you recommend I put it back in the cheese case after wrapping it, or place it in the fridge? Put it in the fridge. It slows down the aging and you'll get a creamier paste. Okay. Yeah, VA is Virginia. Thank you for that. James Sanchez. Hey, Gavin, I found your page the other day and love watching it. I love most types of cheese and enjoy watching it. The downside is I'm lactose intolerant. That's no good at all, James. Hopefully that helped. Try the harder cheeses, like Parmesan, for instance. I think you'll find you'll be able to tolerate that. Okay. Vasco BQ Huck. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. In some of your videos you mentioned if it is used raw milk, do not require adding cultures. Explain a little bit more in which this is the case. 10 times for making me a cheesemaker. Nice. Yeah, the raw milk already has lactic bacteria, lactobacillus bacteria within it from the environment. And it has molds and all sorts of good gear. So many cheesemakers do not add any starter cultures when they're using raw milk. Because there's no need. After pasteurisation, it kills all the bacteria, and we have to add it back as home cheesemakers. So that's kind of the explanation around it. Okay. Michael says, I found out the bacteria is actually known for mini Babybel. The method is used is actually patented. Yeah, some of the videos I saw from Babybel, that was actually the case, so I couldn't really do too much about that. Captain Jack, what's the difference between farmhouse cheddar and regular cheddar? I ran across your channel the other day and you got me back into cheese making. Sorry about that. I know it's addictive. The only trouble is finding whole milk. Farmhouse cheddar usually is not cheddared using the proper cheddaring method, whereas regular cheddar is cheddared. So farmhouse cheddar is usually a stirred curd cheddar. That's the difference. Geo Lin, really thank you from China. Oh, all the way from China. We don't get many people from China on the channel due to geo-blocking by the Great Firewall of China, unfortunately. Unpasteurized. Yes, that's raw milk. Yes, that's the one. North Screen Productions, the Brie in my local stores are too mild for my taste. Any idea on how to get this taste more potent if I were to make it at home? Well, time will tell, but I think that the more you ripen it at a higher temperature, the more potent it gets, because the Penicillium candidum and Geotrichum candidum tend to produce ammonia gas, and it actually does smell a fair bit. And the more runnier the cheese becomes of that type of cheese, the stronger it becomes as well. Very strong taste. You can swap to a straight mesophilic instead of aromatic mesophilic, and that'll get rid of some of those buttery tones that you find in those cheeses. And you'll also find that it's a lot sharper, a lot higher acid production than using an aromatic mesophilic, which I tend to use for those cheeses. Hope says, I'm very happy to see you did a Brie. I can't find a video. Yes. Have I skipped ahead? No. That's fine, Hope. YouTube never reminds me when this starts, only after an hour in. That is a shame. Just here's a hint for you. Subscribe to, oh, where is it? Over there. See the Facebook page, Little Green Cheese? About 30 minutes before the show, I always send a reminder with the link. So go over there and follow that page and you'll see. Can you do a 2 cheese blend? Yeah, I was talking about that before. Colby Jack or there's lots of different types of blends, but yeah, so I can do that, and it'll look checkered. It'll look nice. Curd it to the max. Thanks, Elad. Dustin says, I notice on your old Parmesan recipe you blend the whole and skim milk. Do you not have 2% in Australia? No, we don't. We tend to have fully skim milk, which has 0.1% fat. We have semi-skimmed, which is, or light milk they call it here, which is 1.3% fat. And then we have full cream milk, which is the same as whole milk. It's about 3.25, or between 3.25 or 3.4%. So that's why I have to blend the whole milk and the semi-skim milk to get the levels correct. Which is okay. It worked out fine. And is there any difference between animal rennet and vegetable rennet? Yes, Bradley, there is. One comes from an animal and one comes from a vegetable. Yes, there is a lot of... Look, the basic constituent called Cheeseman is exactly the same. Both coagulate your milk. Animal rennet has a slightly different flavour in longer aged cheeses than vegetable rennet. But vegetable rennet's mainly produced by fermentation of a fungi, and I can't remember the name of the fungi off the top of my head, but it's produced by a fungi, and yeah, it tastes fine. I use vegetable rennet all the time in all my cheeses. I've never used animal rennet, and I've never had an issue. Okay. Hey, Gavin, our Gouda is aging well. I can't wait to try it with the smoke flavour. It is delicious, really is. If you're using liquid smoke, I know it's the cheats way of smoking cheese, but I tell you what, it was very, very nice. I would have added a little bit more of the smoky flavour to the milk to start with. In my case, I can't remember how much I added, but it wasn't enough. But the smell was there, which is half the experience, right? And there was a subtle flavour. It was very nice. Have you ever made cheese with herbs? Yes, I have. If you go and have a look at my Wensleydale recipe, I put sage in the middle of that. I've also made sage derby, which is a very nice cheese as well. Okay, I'm up to the 52-minute mark. We'll do a few more and we'll call it a day. Where are we? Captain Jack, on your cheese cave fridge, how do you keep the humidity where you need to? Early on in the day, or back in the day, I used to struggle with humidity because I wanted to, have the cheeses on a rack and make them all look pretty, but who cares? Nobody looks in your cheese fridge except you. So what I tend to do now, I just use ripening boxes for each individual cheese, and I keep the humidity up that way. So that's the best way to do it. Some people go out and get a humidifier and all that sort of gear. I think it's a waste of time. You only have to clean the cheese fridge more often because it gets all sorts of nasty molds and stuff happening. So that's the best way to do it. Okay, Brendan says, I compared the taste of a bought Brie with my own, and the taste of the bought Brie was so flat in comparison to my own. I think any home-made cheese will outperform in flavour. Brendan, you are exactly right. In fact, Kim said as much to me, and you probably would have seen that in the Mold Festival video, where she had a little bit of a voiceover at the end. And she said that my cheeses outperformed the vast majority of those cheeses because it's all the TLC, tender loving care that we give our cheeses, I reckon. So not only that, we're using good ingredients. We know what we're doing, and we're not making commercial scale batches. So we can tend to make the flavour a lot better. Okay, Richard says, I have access to raw milk. Can you please advise me as a starting cheesemaker what to be aware of? Yeah, make sure it's no more than 3 days old. Make sure it's from a good source, a reliable source that you can trust the farmer, and that they make sure that as soon as it comes out of the cow, it gets chilled down to 4 degrees Celsius. Or you can get it straight warm from the cow and make your cheese straight away, have a lot less issues. Or if anything's in doubt, use the long hold, low temperature method of pasteurization, or thermization it's called, and you should be fine. Dustin, here in the States, we can get 2%, 1%, and skim, cider straight. Yep, use whatever you got. My own spirit level. Can I use the meso and thermo cultures if they're almost a year old and they've been in the fridge the whole time? Better if they're in the freezer. Hopefully you meant freezer. But yes, you can. Starter cultures will last between, from 0 to 2 years. I certainly am still using cultures, in fact, from the Parmesan. I think the thermophilic culture that I used was, I think, at a date of best before 2015, and it works like a treat. As long as you keep them in the freezer and you keep moisture out of them, and we tend to store ours in little sterile jars, and that's what we send out with all our cultures from our shop as well. And keep the lid on tight, you'll have no issues whatsoever. Still using really old cultures, and they're still very, very active. If you think that they're not performing as well, just add a little bit more. More culture is better than less culture. It really won't hurt the cheese at all. What's the difference? North Screen Productions. What's the difference in the making of Brie versus Camembert? Sometimes when bought in store, they taste so similar. That's because they're all Camemberts. Actually, Camemberts are made with raw milk traditionally. Bries are made in larger wheels, as you saw in my video. So they have a different taste profile. The little Bries you see in the shops, they're really Camemberts. There's no difference at all. The starter cultures, I think Brie tends to have geotrichum added or not added because it's in the environment there in that area near Paris. So that's the main differences, and I think the temperature, the target temperature is different as well. And the process for Brie is a lot longer because it takes a lot longer for them to dry out. So they're ready for the mold to grow. Rabbit Slayer, thanks, Gavin and Kim. Great hour, informative. And since no one asked, what's my favourite cheese? You're so funny. Rabbit Slayer. I'm not going to tell you. Maybe it'll be Brie once I finish it. It could be Parmesan. When will the Brie video be out? Well, I think that it will be out within next 2 weeks. I want a bit of mold to grow on it before I release the video, and then I'll do an update just like I did with the Port Salut, and then finally the taste test video. So I want to get it to a stage where it's got some white mold on it to show you guys on how it develops. So it's probably another week to go before I finish that video, and then I've just got to finish the final touches on the post-production. So probably out, not this weekend, next weekend, I would say, because this weekend's a pizza party. Okay, so that's all we got time for, folks. 58-minute mark. Just a few housekeeping. If you wanted to donate to the channel, don't forget the super chat down there. Or you can go over to Patreon, and Kim's already done that. Thank you very much, Kim. To pledge your support on a monthly basis for as little as $1. And every little bit helps. Don't forget that you can buy supplies and stuff over at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. We ship internationally to most countries, except where customs doesn't allow us. Also, buy the book, Rabbit Slayer. Yeah, thanks. The book, Keep Calm and Make Cheese, you can get it at littlegreencheese.com, or you can get it at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. Both places. Thanks, Israel. Appreciate it, mate. Also, don't forget merch. You can't get this t-shirt, but you can get fantastic cups like this and t-shirts with the same logo, certified Curd Nerd. Kim should have a link to the merch store, maybe. If not, I'll find it in 2 seconds. Don't you worry about that. If I can find it. There we are. There we go. So you can go to the merch store at Cafe Press, and there's quite a few cool things that have those logos and stuff. Yes, it is an ebook, so it's a lot easier to get for international people. Sorry for the caps. That's all right. No probs. Oh, Kim, look, Cafe Press twice. Very good, Kim. All right, thanks, Curd Nerds. I appreciate you turning up. It's not a show without you. And thanks to all of the new people that turned up today that are subscribed. Fabulous to see some new faces on the chat. I really appreciate everybody turning up today. Now, next week, just before we go, there is no show. We have some medical appointments that are starting early in the morning, so we won't have a show next week, but we will the week after. So the next show, hang on, let me just have a look at a date. So no show on the 4th, but there is a show on the 11th. And we go to daylight savings time here in Australia, on the East Coast anyway, this weekend. So just make sure you get your times right. The YouTube channel, the live link, will have the time the next show is scheduled for. Yep, thanks very much, Wabbit Slow. Appreciate it. Okay, that's all for this week. Thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and we'll see you next time. Watch out for the pizza video this weekend. See you later. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. G'day, Curd Nerds. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds.